The rain hammered against the cracked bus shelter like bullets against glass. Maya Chin pressed her portfolio tighter against her chest, the worn leather already soaked through. Midnight buses never came on time in this part of the city. She wore a faded denim jacket over a paint-splattered white tank top, ripped black jeans that had seen better days, and canvas sneakers held together by sheer will. Her dark hair clung to her face in wet strands. She looked exactly like what she was, broke, exhausted, and running on nothing but stubborn hope. The black Mercedes pulled up so quietly she almost missed it. The window rolled down, revealing a man who looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine spread. Sharp cheekbones. Ice blue eyes that cut through the darkness. He wore a charcoal three-piece suit that probably cost more than her yearly rent, the jacket abandoned somewhere, leaving him in a crisp white dress shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows. A silver watch caught the streetlight. "You'll catch pneumonia out here." Maya didn't look at him. "Bus comes in 10 minutes. "No, it doesn't." "Lines down for the night. Electrical fire 2 blocks south." She turned then, meeting his gaze. Something flickered there. Recognition, maybe, though they'd never met. "How do you know that?" "I own the transit company." He said it like someone else might say they owned a coffee maker. "Get in. I'll drive you." Every alarm in Maya's head screamed danger. Strange man. Expensive car. Empty street. But the rain was getting worse, and her portfolio held the only copies of her work for tomorrow's gallery meeting. The meeting that could change everything or confirm she'd wasted 5 years chasing an impossible dream. She opened the door. The interior smelled like leather and something expensive she couldn't name. He didn't speak as he pulled onto the wet streets, classical music playing so softly it was almost subliminal. "Where to?" "North Side. The apartments by Miller Street." His jaw tightened. "That's 40 minutes in this weather." "You offered." "I did." Something that might have been a smile ghosted across his face. "I'm Daniel." "Maya." "What's in the portfolio, Maya?" She hesitated. "Paintings. I have a meeting tomorrow. Are you any good?" The question was so blunt it startled a laugh out of her. "I don't know. I hope so." They drove in silence for a while. Then he spoke again, quieter this time. "I saw you 3 weeks ago. At the Bennett Gallery opening. You stood in front of the Rothko for 20 minutes. You were crying." Maya's breath caught. She remembered that night. Sneaking into the opening, feeling like an imposter among people who belonged in that world. "You noticed that?" "I notice everything." His hands tightened on the steering wheel. "It's a curse, actually." "Why were you there?" "I own the building." Of course he did. Maya studied his profile, the hard line of his jaw, the shadows under his eyes that spoke of sleepless nights. "You don't look happy about it." Daniel's laugh was bitter. "Happiness is for people who can afford innocence. I lost that a long time ago." The admission hung between them like a confession. Maya should have felt afraid. Instead, she felt something far more dangerous. Curiosity. "What happened to you?" He pulled up outside her building, the engine purring in the rain. When he turned to look at her, his eyes were haunted. "Have dinner with me tomorrow night. After your meeting." "You don't know me. I know you cried in front of a painting because you understood it. I know you'd rather drown than accept charity. I know you're terrified tomorrow will prove you're not good enough." He paused. "And I know you're the first person in 3 years who's looked at me like I'm human." Maya's hand was on the door handle. One word and she'd never see him again. Safe. Simple. "Why?" "Because I'm tired of being alone." The raw honesty in his voice cracked something open inside her chest. 8 o'clock. Bennett Gallery Cafe. "I'll be there." She climbed out into the rain, but before she could close the door, his voice stopped her. "Maya. That meeting tomorrow. They'd be fools not to take you." She watched him drive away, taillights bleeding red into the wet darkness. In her apartment, she checked her phone. One missed call from an unknown number. Then a text from the same number. "Good luck tomorrow." D. How did he have her number? She should have been scared. Instead, she smiled and fell asleep wondering what she'd just walked into. The gallery meeting had gone well. Too well. They wanted 12 pieces for the spring exhibition. Maya should have been celebrating, but all she could think about was 8 o'clock. She chose a simple black dress from a thrift store downtown, the fabric soft and worn but elegant in its simplicity. Her mother's silver earrings. Minimal makeup. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the nervous woman staring back. The Bennett Gallery Cafe was tucked into a corner of exposed brick and low amber lighting. Daniel sat at a corner table, and when he stood to greet her, she realized he'd dressed down. Dark jeans. A navy Henley that hugged his frame. No watch. He looked younger, less armored. You came. You doubted. Everyone doubts. He pulled out her chair. How did it go? They want 12 paintings. His face transformed, genuine joy breaking through the careful mask. That's incredible. We should be drinking champagne. I don't like champagne. What do you like? Whiskey. Neat. He laughed, and the sound was so unexpected, so real, that Maya found herself laughing too. He ordered 2 whiskeys and they talked. Really talked. Not small talk, but the kind of conversation that strips away pretense. Why tech? She asked. Daniel's smile faded. My father started the company. Revolutionary AI systems, or so everyone said. He died when I was 23. Heart attack in his office. Left me everything. I'm sorry. Don't be. He was a bastard. The words were casual, but his eyes were glacial. Brilliant, ruthless, and completely incapable of love. I spent my whole life trying to earn something he didn't have to give. Is that why you kept the company? I kept it because destroying his legacy felt better than walking away. He took a long drink. Every hostile takeover, every expansion, every billion added to the stock price is me proving I'm better than he ever was. The honesty was brutal. Maya reached across the table, her hand covering his. That sounds exhausting. It is. He turned his hand over, fingers threading through hers. What about you? What are you running from? She should have deflected. Instead, the truth spilled out. My parents wanted me to be a doctor. Steady career, good money, respectability. When I dropped out of med school to paint, they cut me off completely. Haven't spoken to them in 4 years. Do you regret it? Every single day. She met his eyes. And not at all. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. His phone buzzed. Daniel glanced at it and his entire body went rigid. The warmth drained from his expression, replaced by something cold and calculating. I need to make a call. 2 minutes. He stepped outside, visible through the window. Maya watched him pace, his free hand clenched into a fist, mouth moving in what looked like clipped, angry words. When he returned, the mask was back in place. Everything okay? Fine. He signaled for the check. There's something I need to tell you. Her stomach dropped. What? Not here. He threw down cash without looking at the bill. Come with me. Please. They drove in tense silence to a high-rise overlooking the harbor. The penthouse elevator required a key card. The doors opened directly into his apartment, all floor-to-ceiling windows and minimalist furniture that screamed money and loneliness. Daniel poured himself a drink and downed it in one swallow. I didn't meet you by accident. Maya's blood went cold. What? 3 weeks ago at the gallery. I was there specifically to see you. How did you even know I existed? He pulled out his phone, pulled up a file, and handed it to her. Maya's hands shook as she scrolled through pages of information. Her address. Her bank statements. Photos of her outside her apartment. Her student loans. Everything. You had me investigated? Yes. Why? Daniel's jaw worked. Because 6 months ago, my head of security flagged something unusual. Someone's been funneling money from my company's charitable foundation. Small amounts, perfectly hidden. It took our forensics team months to trace it. What does that have to do with me? The money went to pay off student loans. Yours. The room tilted. Maya grabbed the back of a chair to steady herself. That's impossible. I've been making payments myself. You've been making payments to an account that doesn't exist. Someone's been paying your loans for 8 months. Every cent has been replaced with funds stolen from my foundation. I don't understand. Neither do I. He moved closer, his intensity almost frightening. But someone is using you to steal from me, and I need to know who and why. So this whole thing. The ride. The dinner. The interest in my art. It was all a lie. No. The word came out fierce. The investigation was real. But everything else, everything I felt, that's real too. I don't believe you. Then leave. He stepped back, hands raised. Walk out right now and I'll make sure you're protected. I'll have my people find whoever's doing this and keep you out of it. Maya should have run. Every instinct screamed at her to get out. Why tell me at all? Because lying to you felt worse than losing you. His voice cracked. And because whoever's doing this knows about us. They sent me a message tonight. He showed her his phone. The text was simple and devastating. Enjoying your artist? She's pretty when she doesn't know she's bait. Back off the investigation or she disappears. Maya's knees gave out. Daniel caught her, his arms solid and warm. Who would do this? I don't know. But I'm going to find out. He tilted her face up, his eyes burning with something dangerous and desperate. Stay with me tonight. Let me keep you safe. Please. She should have said no. Instead, she kissed him. The kiss was angry and terrified and completely inevitable. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Daniel pressed his forehead to hers. This is a mistake. I know. You could get hurt. I know. I'm not a good man, Maya. I don't care. His phone buzzed again. They both looked at the screen. A photo. Maya's apartment. The door kicked in. Her paintings slashed to ribbons. And written on the wall in red paint, last warning. Maya's scream caught in her throat. They're in my apartment. Right now. Daniel was already moving, phone to his ear, voice sharp with command. Lock down the building. Get a team to North Side immediately. Yes, now. He turned to Maya, his face a mask of cold fury. You're staying here. With me. Until I end this. I can't just hide. You can and you will. He grabbed her shoulders. Because if something happens to you, I'll burn this entire city to find who's responsible. Do you understand? The venom in his voice should have scared her. Instead, she saw the truth beneath the rage. He cared. Actually cared. Okay. Relief flooded his features. Then his phone rang again. Unknown number. He answered on speaker. The voice was distorted, mechanical. Hello, Daniel. Enjoying your pet project? She's lovely. Shame what happened to her work. Who is this? Someone who knows what you did. Someone who's been waiting a very long time for you to care about something again. The voice laughed, cold and empty. Did you really think you could bury the truth forever? That nobody would notice what happened to your father? Daniel's face went white. You're lying. Am I? Ask yourself, Daniel. What really killed dear old Dad? Was it really his heart, or was it something else? Something you've spent 10 years hiding. The line went dead. Maya stared at Daniel, whose hands were shaking. What did they mean? When he looked at her, his eyes were full of a horror she didn't understand. I need to tell you what I did. Daniel poured himself another drink with shaking hands. The city lights glittered below them, oblivious to the confession about to shatter everything. Maya stood by the window, arms wrapped around herself. She still wore the black dress, but now it felt like armor against whatever was coming. 10 years ago, Daniel began, his voice hollow. My father called me into his office. He was destroying the company, gambling with investor money, falsifying research data. I'd found the evidence buried in encrypted files. What did you do? I confronted him. Told him I'd go to the authorities if he didn't step down. He laughed bitterly. He laughed at me. Said I didn't have the spine. Maya turned to face him. Daniel. We fought. Screaming match. I'd never stood up to him before. His jaw clenched. He grabbed his chest. Started gasping. I watched him collapse and I stood there. Just stood there. 30 seconds. Maybe 40. Long enough to matter. You were in shock. No. The word was sharp. I was deciding. Calculating. If I called for help immediately, maybe he'd survive. Maybe he'd destroy everything anyway. So I waited. I let him suffer. And when I finally called 911, it was too late. The silence stretched between them like a chasm. The official report said massive coronary. Natural causes. Daniel's hands were fists. But I know the truth. I could have saved him. I chose not to. Maya's voice was barely a whisper. Does anyone else know? No. The security footage mysteriously corrupted. The only witness was his assistant, Marcus. He left the company a week later. Retired to Europe with a very generous severance package. You paid him off. I ensured his silence. Daniel finally met her eyes, and the self-loathing there was palpable. So now you know. I'm not the victim here. I'm the monster. Maya should have run. Should have been horrified. Instead, she thought of her own parents. The years of pressure. The suffocation of expectations. The fantasy, just once, of watching them realize they couldn't control her anymore. He was abusive. That doesn't justify murder. You didn't murder him. You hesitated. That's not the same thing. Legally, maybe. Morally? He shook his head. I've spent 10 years building an empire on top of a lie. And now someone knows. His phone buzzed. Another message. This time, a video file. Daniel's face went ashen as he played it. Maya moved closer, watching over his shoulder. The footage was grainy but clear. A security camera angle she recognized from the background, his father's office. Timestamp, 10 years ago. She watched a younger Daniel stand frozen as his father collapsed, watched the seconds tick by, watched the moment he finally moved to the phone. The video ended with text overlay. TikTok, Daniel. Time to pay. They have proof. His voice was dead. Everything I've built. Gone. Who sent this? I don't know. He pulled up another message, this one from earlier. But they've been planning this for months. Look. The thread showed weeks of messages. Photos of Maya. Information about her schedule. Details about her paintings. Then the bombshell. She's perfect. He'll never see it coming. Maya's stomach turned to ice. They chose me specifically. To get to me. Daniel's fury was cold and controlled now. Whoever this is, they knew I'd investigate the stolen money. Knew I'd find you. Knew I'd fall for me. The words hung in the air. Daniel's eyes locked on hers. Yes. Is that what happened? You know it is. He moved closer, his intensity almost overwhelming. This started as an investigation. But every conversation, every moment. That was real. How do I know that? You don't. The admission was brutal. I've lied about everything else. Why should you trust me now? Maya's mind raced. The meeting. The destroyed apartment. The anonymous threats. She was a pawn in someone else's game, and the man standing before her was either her only ally or her greatest danger. What did they want? Power. Revenge. Maybe both. Daniel pulled up a file on his tablet. I've been going through old cases. People I've destroyed building this company. The list is long. How long? 47 direct competitors I've crushed. Hundreds of employees I've fired. Dozens of investors who lost everything when I restructured. He looked sick. My father taught me to show no mercy. I learned that lesson well. The phone rang. Same distorted voice. Are you confessing your sins, Daniel? How sweet. Does she know about the Harper family? The Johnsons? All those lives you ruined. What do you want? Justice. Something you've never believed in. The voice turned silky. Here's the deal. Tomorrow at noon, you're going to hold a press conference. You'll confess everything. The investigation into your father's death. The fraud. The manipulation. Every dirty secret. Then you'll transfer a controlling interest in your company to a charitable trust. After that, you'll turn yourself in. And if I don't? The video goes public. Maya's paintings, the ones she worked so hard on, they burn. And after that, we'll see what other unfortunate accidents befall people you care about. Daniel's face was stone. You touch her and You'll what? You're not in control anymore, Daniel. I am. You have 18 hours to decide. Confess and lose everything, or stay silent and watch everyone around you suffer. The line went dead. Maya's voice cut through the silence. You can't do it. I don't have a choice. Yes, you do. We fight back. Against who? We don't even know who this is. Then we find out. She grabbed his laptop. You said your father's assistant retired to Europe. Marcus. Where exactly? Daniel blinked, caught off guard. Geneva. Why? Because assistants know everything. If someone else was in that office, if there's something you missed, he'd know. She was already typing, pulling up airline tickets. We have 18 hours. Let's use them. This is insane. So is letting some psychopath destroy your life. Maya met his eyes. You said you fell for me. Was that true? Yes. Then trust me. We're going to Geneva. Daniel stared at her, something like wonder breaking through the despair. You're staying? After everything I just told you. I'm not staying because you're innocent. Maya's voice was steady. I'm staying because nobody deserves to be hunted like this. And because maybe, just maybe, there's more to this story than you think. He crossed the distance between them in 2 strides, cupping her face in his hands. I don't deserve you. Probably not. She smiled, fierce and terrified. But you're stuck with me now. They kissed, desperate and determined, 2 broken people choosing each other despite every logical reason not to. When they broke apart, Daniel was already on his phone, making arrangements. Private jet. Security team. Contact information for Marcus. We leave in 2 hours. Maya nodded, adrenaline singing through her veins. Then her own phone buzzed. Unknown number. She showed Daniel the message. Clever girl. But Geneva won't save him. Some truths can't be buried. Turn back now or you'll discover secrets that will destroy you both. Daniel's expression was grim. Last chance to walk away. Maya thought of her destroyed apartment. Her slashed paintings. The careful manipulation that had brought them together. Then she thought of Daniel's eyes when he'd confessed his darkest secret. The vulnerability beneath the armor. I'm not going anywhere. They gathered what they needed and headed for the car. As they pulled out of the garage, neither noticed the black sedan that fell into place 3 cars behind. Or the camera capturing their every move. Miles away, in a darkened room, someone watched the live stream and smiled. Let them run. Let them hope. It'll make the ending so much sweeter. On the screen, Maya and Daniel drove toward the airport, toward answers, toward a truth that would change everything. Behind them, the trap was already closing. Geneva glittered under winter sunlight, cold and beautiful and indifferent to their desperation. Maya had never been on a private jet before. The leather seats, the champagne she didn't drink, the surreal quiet of having the sky to themselves. It felt like a dream bleeding into nightmare. Daniel hadn't slept. He sat across from her in dark slacks and a gray sweater, looking both exhausted and wired. His tablet showed surveillance feeds, financial records, anything that might offer a clue. We land in 20 minutes, he said. Marcus lives in a villa outside the city. I called ahead. He agreed to meet us. Just like that. I'm still paying his pension. He owes me the conversation. The villa was tucked into the hillside, all stone and ivy and old money discretion. Marcus himself answered the door. He was in his 70s now, silver-haired and elegant in a cardigan and pressed trousers. His eyes widened when he saw Daniel. Mr. Emerson. It's been a long time. Too long. Daniel's voice was controlled. This is Maya-chan. We need to talk about my father. Marcus's expression shuddered. I don't know what you think I can tell you. The truth. Daniel stepped forward. Someone's blackmailing me. They have security footage from the day he died. They know I waited before calling for help. The old man's face went pale. Come inside. The study was all dark wood and leather-bound books. Marcus poured 3 glasses of cognac with trembling hands. I wondered when this would surface. Maya leaned forward. What do you mean? Marcus sat heavily, suddenly looking every one of his 73 years. Your father's death wasn't natural, Daniel. Not entirely. I know. I let him die. No. Marcus met his eyes. You didn't kill him. I did. The room went silent except for the ticking of an antique clock. Daniel's voice was barely audible. What? The medication he took for his heart. I'd been replacing it with placebos for 3 months. Marcus's hands shook around his glass. The stress you put him under that day, the argument. It triggered the heart attack. But he'd have survived with proper medication. Instead, he died. Maya's mind reeled. Why would you do that? Because he deserved it. The old man's voice turned bitter. 27 years I worked for that man. I watched him destroy lives, ruin families, all while playing the respectable businessman. He was a monster. But why tell me this now? Daniel demanded. Because you need to understand. You didn't kill him. Your hesitation meant nothing. He was already dying the moment his heart gave out. Marcus stood, walked to a wall safe, and retrieved an envelope. I knew someone would come eventually. I've kept this insurance policy. Inside were documents, medical records, pharmacy receipts, a full confession written in Marcus's handwriting. This is everything. Proof that I murdered your father. That you were innocent. Daniel stared at the papers like they might bite him. Why didn't you tell me before? Because you needed to believe you were capable of it. Marcus's smile was sad. You spent your whole life under his thumb. Believing you'd let him die gave you the strength to become what you are now. I gave you that gift. Gift. Daniel's laugh was hollow. I've spent 10 years thinking I was a murderer. And you built an empire. Freed yourself from his shadow. The old man's eyes were sharp. Would you have done that if you'd known you were innocent? Or would you have stayed broken? Maya spoke up, her voice cutting through the tension. Who else knows about this? Marcus frowned. No one. I've told no one. Then how did our blackmailer get the footage? How do they know? The question hung in the air. Daniel pulled out his phone, pulled up the video, and showed Marcus. The old man watched, face growing, increasingly confused. This isn't possible. Why not? Because I erased that footage myself. Corrupted the drives. There were no backups. Maya's stomach dropped. Unless someone made a copy before you destroyed it. Who had access? Daniel demanded. Only security. And your father's other assistant. Marcus paused. Sarah Chin. Maya's blood turned to ice. Chin. Yes. Young woman, mid-20s. Started working for your father about a year before he died. Brilliant with computers. She handled all his digital files. Maya's hands were numb. What did she look like? Marcus thought for a moment. Asian features. Intelligent eyes. There was a photo in the company directory. He pulled out his phone, scrolled through old files, and showed them. The woman in the photo was younger, her hair different, but the resemblance was unmistakable. Maya was looking at her own mother. The room spun. Daniel grabbed her arm. Maya? That's my mother. Her voice sounded distant, strange. That's my mom. That's impossible. Look at her. Maya thrust the phone at him. Same eyes. Same nose. That's her 20 years ago, but it's her. Daniel's face went white. He pulled up photos of Maya on his own phone, compared them side by side with the picture of Sarah Chen. Oh God. Marcus looked between them, confused. I don't understand. Maya's mind raced through memories. Her mother's insistence she become a doctor. The strange tension whenever Maya mentioned art. The way she'd cut Maya off completely when she'd pursued painting. She set this up. The realization crashed over her like a wave. My mother has been planning this for 20 years. Why? Daniel demanded. I don't know. But she knew about your father's death. She had the footage. And she used me to get to you. Daniel was already on his phone. I'm calling my security team. We need to find her. Now. But Maya's phone buzzed first. Unknown number. She answered on speaker, already knowing whose voice she'd hear. Not distorted this time. Clear and familiar and cold. Hello, sweetheart. Enjoying Switzerland. Mom? Maya's voice cracked. What have you done? What I should have done 20 years ago. I loved him, you know. Daniel's father. I was young, stupid, infatuated with power. When I got pregnant, I thought he'd leave his wife. Instead, he paid me off and threatened to destroy me if I ever spoke up. Maya's world tilted. Pregnant. With you, darling. You're not just caught in this game. You're the game. Her mother's laugh was bitter. I spent 2 decades building a new life, raising his daughter alone, watching him from afar as he built his empire on cruelty and lies. Daniel's voice was steel. What do you want? Everything you took from me. Everything your father promised and then stole. I want Daniel Emerson to confess his sins, lose his company, and face justice. And I want him to know that he fell in love with his own half-sister. The words detonated like a bomb. Maya couldn't breathe. Her vision tunneled. Daniel looked like he'd been shot. "You're lying," he whispered. "DNA doesn't lie. I have the proof. The medical records. Everything." Sarah Chen's voice turned venomous. "Did you really think I'd let his legacy continue? That I'd let you build on his foundation without consequences? This was always about revenge. And Maya, my beautiful daughter, was the perfect weapon." "I'm not a weapon." Maya's voice shook with rage. "I'm a person. You're a means to an end. You always were." The coldness in her mother's voice was absolute. "Now Daniel has a choice. Confess everything and turn yourself in, or I release the truth. That you've been sleeping with your half-sister. The media will have a field day." The line went dead. Maya stood frozen, her entire life recontextualizing in an instant. Every argument with her parents. Every cruel word about her art. The coldness. The distance. She wasn't their daughter. She was evidence. A reminder of betrayal. Daniel's hand touched her shoulder, and she flinched away. "Don't. Maya, we don't know if she's telling the truth. She could be lying to manipulate us. She had 20 years to plan this." Maya's voice broke. "Why would she lie about that?" "To destroy us both." Daniel's eyes were wild with desperation. "This is what she wants. To make us doubt everything. To poison what we have." "What we have?" Maya laughed, the sound edged with hysteria. "We don't have anything. This whole thing was designed. Orchestrated. I was bait." "That's not true. What I feel for you is real." "Is it? Or is it just another lie in a tower built on corpses and manipulation?" Marcus cleared his throat quietly. "There's a way to know for certain. DNA test. I can have results in 6 hours." Daniel nodded immediately. "Do it." "No." Maya backed toward the door. "I can't. I can't know that and still. I can't." "Maya, please. My entire life is a lie." Tears streamed down her face. "My parents. My identity. You. Everything I thought I knew. It's all contaminated. So we find the truth. Together." "There is no together." The scream tore out of her. "Don't you get it? If she's right, if we're related, then everything we've done is wrong. And if she's lying, it doesn't matter, because the damage is already done." Daniel's phone buzzed. A message. Photos started flooding in. Him and Maya at the cafe. Kissing outside his apartment. Boarding the plane. And overlaid on each, half-siblings in love. The Emerson scandal deepens. "She's going to release these," Daniel said flatly. "Either way, truth or lies, she's going to destroy us both." Maya's mind was a chaos of emotion. Rage. Betrayal. A twisted kind of grief for the mother she'd thought she'd known. And beneath it all, despite everything, the impossible pull toward Daniel. The man she'd fallen for. Who might be her brother. "I need air." She walked out onto the terrace, the Swiss mountains indifferent to her breaking heart. Behind her, she heard Marcus and Daniel talking in low, urgent tones. Her phone buzzed one more time. "You have 4 hours, Maya. Convince Daniel to confess, or I burn both your lives to ash. This is your last chance to save something. Choose wisely. Love, Mom." Maya stared at the message, then at her reflection in the glass door. She'd thought she was the victim in this story. Now she realized she might be the key to ending it. But the cost would destroy everything. The DNA results came back in 3 hours. Marcus had connections at a private lab, the kind that dealt with discretion and speed in equal measure. Maya stood in the villa's study, Daniel beside her, neither touching. Marcus held the envelope like it might explode. "Before I open this," the old man said quietly, "you both need to understand something. Whatever this says, it doesn't define you. Love isn't biology. Choice matters more than blood. Open it." Maya's voice was hollow. Marcus broke the seal. "Read." His expression gave nothing away. "You're not related. Not even distantly." The relief should have been overwhelming. Instead, Maya felt nothing but cold fury. She lied. Completely. Marcus showed them the results. "There's no genetic connection whatsoever." Daniel's laugh was bitter. "Of course she lied. The whole thing was manipulation. Make us doubt everything so we'd tear ourselves apart. It worked." Maya's hands were fists. "She turned me into a weapon, and I let her. No. Daniel grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to look at him. She failed. We're still here. Still together. She lost. Did she? Maya pulled up her phone. In 2 hours, she releases everything. Real or fake, it doesn't matter. The media will crucify you. Your company will collapse. And I'll be the woman who destroyed you. So we go public first. Daniel's eyes were fire. We tell the truth. All of it. Marcus's confession. The blackmail. Everything. That doesn't save you. You still built your empire on lies. Then I'll burn it down myself. The conviction in his voice was absolute. I'll transfer the company to a charity. Establish a foundation to help everyone my father destroyed. I'll make it right. That's not enough for her. She wants you to suffer. Then let me. Daniel cupped her face. But I won't let her destroy you in the process. Maya's phone rang. Her mother. She answered on speaker. Time's up, sweetheart. What's it going to be? I know you lied. Maya's voice was steel. We're not related. You fabricated everything. A pause. Then Sarah Chin laughed. Does it matter? I still have the footage of Daniel letting his father die. I still have evidence of fraud, embezzlement, every crime he's committed. The DNA was just theater. The real destruction is still coming. Why? Maya demanded. Why destroy your own daughter to hurt him? Because you were supposed to be mine. The rage in her mother's voice was finally raw, unfiltered. I gave up everything for you. My career. My youth. My chance at the life I deserved. And what did you do? Threw it all away to be a starving artist. Just like him. Like who? Your father. Your real father. Not Daniel's dad. Some nobody artist I met after who gave me pretty words and empty promises before he left. Her laugh was acid. You have his talent. His stubbornness. His complete inability to see reality. I tried to make you different. Stronger. But you chose his path anyway. The confession hung in the air, another layer of lies peeling away. So I'm not even part of your revenge. I'm just another disappointment. You're the tool I needed. Sarah's voice was cold again. And you'll serve your purpose. In 30 minutes, everything goes public. Unless Daniel agrees to my terms. What terms? Daniel asked. Turn yourself in. Full confession. And sign over 51% of your company stock to Maya. Maya's blood froze. What? You wanted to paint? Fine. You'll be a billionaire artist. You'll have everything I never did. And Daniel will have nothing. Perfect symmetry. I don't want his money. Then you're a fool. The line went dead. Maya looked at Daniel, whose expression was unreadable. You should take it. What? The company. The money. Everything. His voice was calm, decided. She's right. I built this on lies and cruelty. Maybe it's time someone good had the power to change things. I'm not good. Maya's laugh was broken. I'm as broken as you are. Then be broken with billions of dollars and make something beautiful out of the wreckage. Daniel pulled out his phone. I'm calling my lawyers. We'll draft the transfer papers. You'll have control of Emerson Industries in an hour. And you. I'll hold the press conference. Confess everything. Marcus will verify his part. The truth comes out, but you'll be protected. You'll have the resources to do actual good. That's not what I'm asking. Maya grabbed his hand. What happens to you? Prison, probably. If Marcus's confession doesn't change things, at minimum, I'll be ruined. Broke. Infamous. He smiled, and it was the most genuine expression she'd ever seen on his face. Free. This is insane. This is right. He pulled her close. For 10 years, I've been building a monument to my father's memory, whether I meant to or not. It's time to let it go. I can't let you sacrifice everything. You're not letting me do anything. I'm choosing this. His thumb traced her cheekbone. Besides, I'm not losing everything. I'm keeping the only thing that matters. What's that? You. If you'll have me. No money. No power. Just me, figuring out who I am without the empire. Tears streamed down Maya's face. That's the stupidest thing you've ever said. Is it? Yes. She kissed him, fierce and desperate. Because I'm not taking your company. We're going to do something much worse. What? Maya pulled out her phone and called her mother back. Changed your mind. Sarah's voice was smug. No, I'm making you an offer. Maya's voice was steady now, clear. You want justice? Fine. Daniel will hold his press conference. He'll confess everything. Marcus will verify his part. The truth about both deaths comes out. That's not enough. I'm not finished. The company gets transferred, but not to me. To a trust, managed by a board of people your ex hurt. The families he destroyed. The employees he crushed. They'll decide how to use that power. How to make amends. Silence on the line. And you and Daniel? Walk away with nothing. Start over. Build something real instead of something stolen. Maya looked at Daniel, who was staring at her with something like awe. You wanted him to lose everything? Fine. He loses it all. But so do I. No inheritance. No wealth. Just two people trying to be better than their parents. You give up billions? It was never mine to keep. Just like your revenge was never yours to take. Maya's voice softened. Mom, he's not the man who hurt you. I'm not the disappointment you made me into. We're just people trying to survive the choices our parents made. Another long silence. Then, quietly, the evidence goes public in 5 minutes. Then I guess we'd better get started. The line went dead. Daniel pulled Maya into his arms. Are you sure about this? No, but I'm sure about us. Everything else, we'll figure out. They called the lawyers. The press. Within an hour, Daniel stood in front of cameras, Marcus beside him, and told the truth. All of it. His father's crimes. Marcus's confession. The blackmail. The manipulation. The media erupted. Stock prices plummeted. By evening, Emerson Industries was in chaos. But by evening, Daniel and Maya were on a train heading south, toward nowhere in particular, with nothing but each other and the truth. 3 months later, Maya stood in a small gallery in Lyon. Not the prestigious Bennett, but a cramped space above a bakery that smelled of bread and possibility. Her paintings lined the walls. Raw. Honest. Better than anything she'd made before. Daniel worked construction during the day, his expensive suits traded for work boots and calloused hands. At night, he took business classes, learning to build something clean for the first time in his life. They lived in a studio apartment, ate cheap pasta, argued about money and laughed about everything else. And every morning, Maya woke up next to a man who'd chosen her over empire, over legacy, over everything his father had built. Her mother never contacted them again. The evidence she'd threatened to release stayed buried. Maybe she'd gotten what she wanted. Maybe she'd realized revenge was emptier than she'd imagined. Or maybe she just didn't care anymore. One evening, as they walked along the river, Daniel stopped and turned to Maya. Do you regret it? Giving up the company? Maya thought about it. Really thought about it. No. You. Not for a second. He pulled her close. I spent my whole life trying to prove I was better than my father. Turns out the only way to do that was to become nothing like him. You're not nothing. I'm not a billionaire. Not a CEO. Not anyone important. You're important to me. They kissed as the sun set over the water, two broken people who'd chosen love over legacy, truth over power, each other over everything else. It wasn't the ending anyone expected, but it was theirs. And that was enough. The end.